Good afternoon. We are going to show you how to find the percentages without doing it the traditional way that you and I learned how to do it as far as dividing the fraction and coming up that way with the decimal. What we're going to do first is we're going to do the thirds, and you can see that I have a 10 by 10 grid here, and that is split into thirds already. So I went over 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I've also labeled here 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to show you real quickly how I went about, and this is 1/3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in 1 out of every 3, 1 out of every 3, 1 out of every 3, and I'm just going to put a dot there on 1, and then I'm going to shade in this last one, which is a third. So if I add those up, this is 10 right here, 10 right here, 10 right here, and then I count 1, 2, 3, and then I look and see how much I filled in there, and that's plus a third. So if I add all that up, this is 10, 20, 30, 33, and a third. So I would come up here and I would fill in 33 and 1/3%. I would do the same thing with 2/3, except I'm going to fill in 2 out of every 3. So you can see I'm filling in 2 out of every 3 here, 2 out of every 3, 2 out of every 3, and then I would fill in 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then 2 down here. And if I count that up, right here is 20, 40, 60, 62, or 2, 4, 6, so there's 6 and 2/3, and if I add that up, that equals 66 and 2/3%. Then what I want to do is I want to say, okay, what has a relationship with a third? Well, I know if I double this, I try to find the equivalent fraction. 1/3, that would be 2/6, so I know 2/6 is 33 and 1/3, and I know that 4/6 is 66 and 2/3. See, so I filled that in already, and then I know that 3/6 is already 50%. So the only ones that I really need to know are 1/6 and 5/6. How do you do sixth? I will show you here very quickly and easily as far as how you go ahead and find the sixth. With the sixth, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and draw the thirds, which you can see right here that I've drawn the thirds, and then with the thirds, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split that in half to make that the sixth. Then what I need to do is go ahead and fill in 1/3, or 1/6, I'm sorry, 1/6, which is right here. So I filled that in, and I know that that is half of 1/3, which is, this is going to be 15, and then I want to fill in 1/6 here, which is right there. Then I want to fill in 1/6 of this, 1/6 of this, 1/6 of that, 1/6 of that, and how I do that is I just go right here, cross that out, divide that into thirds, and then have a line down. So there are 4/6 here, there is 1 here, and there is 15. So if I add that up, that equals 16 and 4/6, which is the same thing as saying 16 and 2/3. So I know that 1/6 is 16 and 2/3%. So there's an easy way to do that. They just need to make the third and then cut it in half. Next, what we're going to work on is we're going to go ahead and we're going to work on the fourth. So with a fourth here, what I've already done is I've cut this 10 by 10 square into fourths, and what I want to do is I just want to shade in 1/4. And if I count each one of these blocks, there are a total of 25 in here, so I know that 1/4 is 25%. If I wanted to find 2/4, well, I know the relationship. 2 is half of 4, so that's 50%. And then 3/4, what I would do is I would just go ahead and I'd fill in 3/4 of this, and I would know that that is 75% if I counted all those blocks. So there we go. Now, if I was going to do an eighth, and that's our next one, what I would do is I would go ahead and draw these into fourths, and then what I want to do is to make an eighth, all I need to do is cut this in half. So I'm cutting a fourth in half to make these eighths. Just right there like that. And if I want to know what 1/8 is, I'm going to fill this in, and I know that 1/8 is half of a fourth. Well, 1/4 is 25, so half of 25 is 12.5%. So I can go ahead and I can keep filling those in. Each one goes up 12.5%. I know that 2/8 is equivalent to 1/4, so that's 25%. Then what I can do is I can add 25 plus 12.5%, which then equals 37.5%. So those are fairly easy right there once we have drawn the grid, and they can do this on a piece of graph paper. Just make a 10 by 10 grid. The next ones are just fifths and tenths. So with fifths, all that I have to do is I just have to divide this into fifths here, and you can see that I've divided that into fifths. So if I want to know what 1/5 is, I go ahead and fill in 1 out of 5. So there's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if I count those, that equals 20. So I know 1/5 is 20. Then if I go ahead and do this again, 2/5 is right there like that, and that is 20 and 40. So 2/5 is 40. So 40%. That's an easy way to do it. And then the tenths are very easy. Each tenth is worth 10%. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. So those are easy ways that we can find the percentages there, and this will help students classify fractions easier and put them in order. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.